Yeah, that's a sick kick.
I'm nasty with it. Yeah, you want to come out here, guys? Oh, he's nasty with it. Oh my god, he's too nasty with it.
Both. Both their DPSs are down.
Nice.
3 down. 4. Wait, this might be my POG. POTG. There it is.
Nice.
Oh, HP up. Oh, just one, but him.
Oh my god, heavy ball.
Oh my god, that's actually a sick juke spot. I didn't even know.
Alright, there we go. Behind us, behind us.
Go, holy shit, wait, I'm jumping in.
Wait, absolutely.
Three, 2, 1, and go.
Fellas, welcome back to another Platshot Valorant. It's episode 176. We're here. We're watching the game Valorant. Bren's watching the game Valorant right now. Isn't that right, Bren?
Yep, I'm catching up on Carmen Kokoi. I'm on the third and final map.
What's your
It's
honest reaction to the current
sloppy,
ongoings?
diarrhea-esque gameplay that I'm
Damn, bro.
It's and it's not that sloppy, but it's. I've watched so much poo Valorant in the last 5. You have no idea.
It's been.
You
It
have
is a
no
rough
idea.
era for
I
the hit game
finished-
Valorant.
I finished Americas, got on a flight, immediately downloaded 18 hours worth of Pacific VODs, watched some of the like emergent gameplay if it was 2021, and then I watched all of that, and then I was like, wow, that was really bad. And then I was like, okay, maybe there'll be some good teams. And now I'm on the EMEA games, and the only ones that we were left to cover were Giants and Vitality, which, holy moly, Vitality don't understand the play loaders. We're going to get onto that. We'll do EMEA later. But I've been losing my mind watching some of these games. It's just every region is bad. Every region's sloppy. Every region is bad. There's no good region. I'm not batting for Americas here. This is just.
Oh no, America's is terrible too.
Dude, the state of the game's gone down. There's only like a handful of teams that I feel even good about.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. Me and Bren, borderline manic, but we have two, hopefully, responsible fellas joining us. Paper Thin, John Pacific, CEO of Korea, and Sliggy. Is that not your title?
It is now, yeah, I'll take it.
Official.
He's actually the CEO of the company.
I've upgraded from the elevator guy that's keeping the teams from going to Masters, and now I'm
Korea
CEO.
pretty big with like having like massive companies, kind of like oligarch vibing?
Yeah, they're called chaebols. So there's like 8 of them, and like Samsung's one of them, LG's another, that are like just so huge they basically run the country. Yeah.
I feel like if esports fails, you should get on like climbing that corporate ladder. I feel like you're the type of guy with some gumption who could go out there, shake hands, kiss babies, and like sell some damn washing machines and cars and phones and televisions and rent property.
I'm out there slapping them. Look what this baby can do. Let's go.
You have a very like old-fashioned mentality of how climbing the corporate ladder works. You think it's like you start off selling washing machines at Samsung and become the CEO. Like that's it. We're not living in the 60s anymore, thank God. But also,
but I think if there's one man who could do it in 2024, it's Clinton. Paper Thin last name.
That's right. It's okay. You know, doesn't. My last name's not important.
Hey, I know another fella from Wisconsin. You've got the gumption there, fella.
That's right. That's right. You know it there, eh? Yeah.
I don't know
Just
what
gonna
I'm saying. Sliggy's
scooch
here
right
too.
on by you there, eh?
Hi, Sliggy.
I'm here. I'm doing all right. Dude, I feel lost today because it's like I've been streaming for what 28 days in a row,
And then
Yeah.
normally
Jesus, dude.
and then I'm normally telling my dude, I had such a struggle last night sleeping because normally I have like a conversation with my brain. I'm like, you got to be up in like 5 hours. Don't be thinking too much. Don't be thinking of too much mad stuff. So then last night I was like, okay, you go free, man. Like we got nothing to be up for apart from plat chat till 4. And then I started thinking about all these rounds, man. I couldn't get to sleep for like 3 hours. I was thinking about like RRQ's new fast A. I was like, what if you put the jet up short and you combine that with BBL strat? And then I was thinking about Navi and NRG playing the Brim on Lotus. What if you stimpack someone with Odin, then you're just spamming constantly? I was there for 3 hours just thinking of random strats. It was awful.
I think you should get hazard
help.
pay for what the state of the game has done to you.
Dude, I need some structure in my life. I don't know what to do today. It's weird.
That was the most relatable thing I've ever heard as well, because I also couldn't go to bed. I was watching VODs from like from dawn till dusk until I was in bed, and then I couldn't sleep. So then I just took an edible, and then I still couldn't sleep. So I was just high in bed thinking about Valorant for until like 3 a.m. And then I just woke up, and I'm back watching Valorant again. We're starting the show, and I'm still watching Valorant.
I feel like
Still
we
more
should do a
reviewing.
bonus episode where we just all take an edible and just like watch party Valorant and then do a flat chat. I think that would be a beautiful thing.
I have to
could
drink
be.
soju. I don't have the option to have edibles here in Korea,
Yeah,
so
that's
it have to
fine.
be
That's
soju for me.
Highly
yeah.
illegal.
Highly
Yes,
illegal.
very.
And we would know from an enterprising businessman like him, no
That's
businessman
exactly-
would ever do drugs illegally. They wouldn't
I
do
would
it.
never swallow. I would never. Yeah,
What?
I would never inhale. I would never inhale.
Excuse me.
Excuse me?
No,
What do you mean by that?
yeah, I would never take the edible and actually, fully ingest it. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first. Paper thin, only spits. Moving on.
Oh god! Dude, I'm fucking dying over here. I'm the first to swear. Dang. Sorry. Oh well. Sorry.
Guys, is this the worst era of Valorant we've ever had?
That's a great.
This isn't a topic, but
topic.
I feel like this is the first topic. Is this the sloppiest, messiest, oiliest, muddiest Valorant we've ever had?
The problem, 2021 exists. That's the issue, dude.
Yeah.
2021, the amount of stuff I got
But
out.
I feel like if
got
we're
away
talking
with.
about like the civilized eras,
Okay, yeah.
this is the worst.
From 22 onwards.
It's
Yeah,
it's pretty bad. There's a couple of I mean there's multiple reasons why that's the case. I think that the map pool doesn't really promote much creativity when you have.
Me when I'm playing
we've seen
Breeze and
some
Icebox.
innovation. Yeah, we've seen some innovation on Breeze and Icebox, but we haven't seen too much. 2, we had big sky nerfs right before the season started when we had a massive off season to test changes. Didn't use that. Decided to do it right before, so teams had to like just scrap a bunch of crack and setup and strats that they otherwise would have had. And yeah, I mean that's the major one really. Is
But
that
a lot of new agents aren't viable. Like, you're not
Yeah.
seeing much Deadlock or ISO, right? Nobody's
Yeah,
has
because
anybody
I
tried
think that-
Clove
Has
yet?
anyone
Like,
in any
they're scared
region
of,
play Clove? I don't think
no,
so,
no,
right?
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think it Game Changers, but not in VCT.
Which I understand the balancing philosophy of Riot because they're scared of like another Astra situation or Chamber situation where they release an agent and they dominate the meta for a year plus. Because it's much easier to steadily buff a character rather than
Yeah.
nerfing them because you can just be way too heavy-handed with nerfs.
But I do like that approach, though. I think that's a way better
Yeah.
approach.
I
It is
agree.
way better. Like, Astra Chamber meta sucked. Like, it was fun for like 3 months.
Do you
and
guys
it
think
went
though
on 4
Yeah.
times longer?
it takes away the excitement of new agents being added?
A little bit.
Because I feel like it does
Yeah.
to an extent. Because we see these reveals, these really hyped trailers, and then the agent comes out and they're fun in ranked, and then little Timmy, aspirational player, I'm watching the pros play, and they're not using any of the new stuff. It's like Gecko was released over a year ago now, and only now is he like prevalent in the meta. Like it's this like incremental nerf. I feel like means there's like a year lag time on agents being relevant.
Gecko would have been played if they nerfed Sky in time though. That's
Sure,
the
sure.
trouble is that
That's true.
when there's just better options available, like you're just not going to run anything else. When they release a duelist that doesn't have like a gap close, it needs to be really fulfilling some other niche, which ISO didn't do.
Yeah.
And what else?
It feels like
Deadlock doesn't
releasing
give
a
you
like
any...
non-dive duelist agent
Yeah.
is just like they'll never get played.
Yeah, and then Deadlock
Yep.
as a Sentinel as well is meant to be super reactive like a Sage, but you don't get any of the passive map control that even Sage has with a wall, arguably. Like you
Yeah.
get some level of
Yeah.
passive map control with it, you do. So yeah, it's just yeah.
Yeah.
When you design agents that way, you really need to fulfill their niche really well to even carve out any sort of spot for them.
Yeah, I feel like Clove is the only one recently that's actually been in a good spot. Like I feel like Clove, if it maybe didn't get released in the middle of the split, then teams might have used it on certain maps. That I still have a bit of hope for Clove on like Icebox and Sunset.
Sure.
I think there's
Yep.
a niche, but
I think they can. They're definitely more viable than like release ISO or something. Like at least you
yes,
can
for
like
sure.
think about and like justify a way to play them, even if you have to make compromises. Which then that goes back to the format being so close that there's not really time for teams to test stuff like that, and you're kind of disincentivized. I feel like to take those risks with this format.
Yeah,
Just
no
just
doubt.
give Forsaken some time. He'll at some
He'll
point
pull through?
play Clove. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's got to play every agent. Like that's just in his MO now. He plays a different agent on every map now.
Has he-
So
Yeah,
at
it's
some
nuts.
point.
So what does he
he's
still
gonna-
need to do? Deadlock ISO Clove?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
it?
is it.
That's it.
All
I'm
right.
pretty sure.
I
That's
believe in him.
doable. That's
We'll get him on
achievable.
that.
Yeah.
Before we get into the episode, 10 minutes into the episode, we haven't talked about a single topic yet.
Yeah,
You know
might
this
be a
is
long
gonna be
one.
this episode is gonna be a hosting masterclass by me. Kurt wanted to pull up some cool fan art someone made of Sliggy. Look at this.
Oh, it's
Look
like
at this.
Wingman!
For the audio
Whoa!
listeners, he's Wingman. And finally, Sliggy, he hates himself, and that's so sad.
It's nuts, isn't it? This is like me after being like a 1v5 from Wingman defusing or something, and I'm just like, he'll never win this, and then this is what I have to do as a forfeit. Yeah, look at
This
that.
is what I'm imagining if you went down your Bren arc and you just like took an edible after like an 8-hour coach stream. This is like your like crazy fever dream that you get.
I go back to coaching, just play Gecko on every map to say, yeah, this is the one. Just
Scarred
embrace
by
it.
him.
Oh.
It's cool, dude. The slug is sick.
It is
as well.
good.
Do we know
Yeah,
who
it's
made this?
impressive.
Can we credit them instead of just putting their artwork
I
up and
think
not
it's
crediting
the
them?
Yeah.
Twitter
Yes.
account. Just
Wait,
now.
hold up.
That's the one you
Is
gave
it?
me. It might just
Oh,
be.
is that the one I gave you?
Yeah, I think
It's-
so.
This is a random
I
person.
think so.
Did you just like hit your keyboard and just
Everyone go
Shut
follow
up.
No, 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 no.
Casimia or whatever their name
Yeah, no, I
was.
think that's right. Yeah, that should be right.
Oh, really?
be right.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
they
that's right.
haven't
Pull
done
back up.
anything since 2018, so.
Yeah, they're just not that active.
Well,
Alright,
I mean,
it's,
if you want,
empty.
Thank
if you want the best tweets from November 2018, make sure you follow them. Cool fan art.
Cover your place in rugs. Done.
Shall we start the episode?
I think we should start the episode.
Shall we start the
Yeah.
episode? I think that would be cool. I think.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about muddy, messy Valorant.
Oh god.
And we got a match of the week, baby. Talon versus Team Secret. Clint, I just want to start. What happened? What
well,
happened?
I mean, obviously there was a lot of drama coming into this one. So there was kind of that setting the stage for it, and I think it got pretty personal and it got pretty hot and heavy, and it was, I mean, it came down to a lot of hero plays for Talon at times, and Team Secret after their big win against Paper X, you're like, okay, maybe Team Secret's got it together, but it turns out Team Secret just beats Paper X on the regular for whatever reason, and then they come out and they just they kind of play to their opponent's level sometimes, and this was one of those matches. It felt like Jeremy wasn't playing very good. He was like 14 and 23 in first kills versus first deaths, and like when he's not like kind of as that good entry, then things start to fall apart a bit for Team Secret. Like even though Jesse usually has a pretty good idea on what's going on the map and he makes decent calls, like if Jeremy isn't kind of breaking doors down, things start to collapse. And Envy still had a pretty good game, but it was overall just more like Talon is starting to kind of get themselves together. They're starting to feel what their team chemistry is and what their kind of MO is. And Cruz is really doing a pretty good job making adjustments. He talked about it in the post-game interview where he's like, we kind of got a good read pretty quickly on what Team Secret was doing against us, and we adjusted, especially on Lotus, and that really turned the map around for us. So I think overall, like, it was messy for sure. Do I expect either team to go very far in playoffs? Not really, but you know, there's improvements for talent. I'll say
Sure.
that. I think they look a little bit better.
I wanted to ask you. You mentioned at the beginning that there was like some like personal stuff about this. Can you expand on that?
Yes.
What's the lore?
There is some beef apparently sometime during kickoff. I don't know. These are just what I'm hearing. I was not a part
Word
of
on
any of
the
this.
streets.
Yeah, this is our word on the streets. That there was some nicknames thrown around by Team Secret about the Talon team that in Tagalog, which is the native Filipino language, that weren't very flattering to Talon, and that, you know, Frost took exception to that and went on multiple, you know, different interviews and podcasts and things and let it be known that he took exception to that. And yeah, I mean, the players weren't super thrilled about it either, but hopefully it's done. To be honest, I think it's a little bit blown out of proportion.
That guy's the CEO of instigating.
Dude,
it's
Frost is
incredible.
crazy for the
It's
drama
incredible.
stocks. I'm not gonna lie. This guy, you need someone like this. You need a little curveball in the scene. He's just gonna say his mind and potentially get fired later down the line for something he says. You just don't. You never know with Frost. You never know.
I feel like the majority of our coaches, I mean this positively, have the sliggy demeanor of just like, yeah, we played a great game. I mean, made some mistakes. They were good, just soft spoken, chilling. And then he's the exception to the rule. He's
Yeah,
like
just
the one
ready-
guy who gets fired up about everything.
He's ready to flame his own team
His own
publicly.
team,
Like,
dude.
it's-
Wasn't he like,
no
he
one's
was like
safe.
clowning on the Furia players publicly, or
No, he was clowning
or
on his
something
own
like
team,
that.
saying like
He
the
did, yeah.
Fury. We talked about it in the previous episode, but he was
Okay.
man, yeah, dude. That was a crazy statement. I couldn't believe that. I pulled some clips of Talon here because they do have some strengths that I think are working well for them.
Okay.
And it's one, they're putting some thought into like set executes on the pistol round. So I pulled their sunset pistol, which is just this wasn't like a counter strat or anything for what Team Secret are doing, because Team Secret tend to play very passive slow defaults at the beginning of every round. But they got caught by it. This little squeeze play here, sending the paranoia out at a slight angle, so it punishes like a fast take of the main angle, and you take that space if they don't contest it. And it wins them the pistol round in this. And then they also string it together into a bonus round win, which I also pulled a clip for. It's nothing special. They just decided to go for another proactive play using all their initiator util. But I also think that this team really struggles with just macro and their overall like ideas of what they have on their attack side. I think they struggle that a ton, actually, in terms of the way that they work the map, like the ideas behind their compositions. Sometimes it's good like this, where it's really thought out, where they just know that they're going to overwhelm a particular area with util. But then they are so reliant as well on hero plays, like Governor getting a 2-piece because he can't be traded effectively, or Cruz gets a 3K, or Ban gets 4 players because they weren't watching a flank in a particular moment. Like they win so many rounds off the back of that purely because their opponents can't trade them out. And my question is, what's going to happen when they do meet an opponent that are going to be on point with the trading? And I'm pretty sure their first opponent is going to be Paper X, which stylistically, that is, I feel like that's a good matchup for them. We're going to talk about the playoffs later, so I don't want to touch on it too much. But yeah, that's my question for them, I think, as well, is just how much more have they got going for them? Because when the macro's not there and it's just big hero play moments, which, listen, if you can pull it off consistently, good. But the trouble is that's not a consistent way to win.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And like they're doing the right things in terms of heavy focus on the pistol and the bonus. That's like kind of what you want to do. And then when it gets to like the middle, it feels a little bit lost. And then I would definitely give credit to Frost. Like as much as he loves a bit of drama, like his timeouts and what they're doing in the timeouts after is honestly like it's pretty spot on in terms of what I think should be happening. So I feel like they need that little help. I think the timeouts are very important in this team. But yeah, I massively agree with the fact that it's just individuals saving them a little bit. I've never been a fan of the 6-person roster as well. Like they are making it work a little bit, but I still feel like the 6-person roster just doesn't really make sense. Lenny's just sometimes just showing up on maps. I'm just like, well, I don't massively
Well, they need a
get
Sova
it.
player is really what it is.
It's just a role thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is up with that? Because I'm saying this game, Lenny came in and played Fade, but Cruz also plays Fade? Like, are their roles just boomed? Can anyone like shed some light? Because it's now 3 out of 5 matches this season. They've done this 6-man roster thing, and I mean, judging by the entirety of history in Valorant, it's never been sustainable to do a 6-man roster.
I mean, it just is like it. So, from what I understand, at the beginning of the year, Lenny kind of became their IGL and he became their guy. And they said they felt like he was, even though he had only been a sub on Team Secret before, he had played 1 match last year. And so they said that like they felt good with him being the IGL, like things were clicking pretty well, but it became pretty apparent pretty fast during kickoff that it was not. So then they reverted back to Cruz being the IGL. He's kind of also the natural leader of the team. I mean, he's, been around since day 1 of Valorant, right? Like this guy's been there, done that. So he's kind of taken over that role. So that kind of left Lenny in a weird spot where he's sort of a certain initiator specialist. I guess on this map, Sunset, it must be because Cruz is just the better breach that you need to put Lenny on the Fade. And Surf just might not be up to speed yet. So there's definitely a little bit of question marks in my mind, but I think, I think they're kind of, in my opinion, starting to lean away from Lenny a little bit, even though I don't think he's that bad, but I just kind of wonder if he just doesn't have the firepower to really keep up at this level.
Yeah, I think I back that as well. Like when I'm watching the stuff, it does just feel like a significant firepower difference. Like this guy has and still is always like a bit of a beast in terms of like fragging out. So yeah, I think it works and it looks like it makes more sense, and just the whole team just feels more put together when it's these 5. So we'll see if that's something that continues.
Would you
And
guys
then,
like to see them just moving forward, like just cut Lenny and just go straight up 5 players with the rest of their team?
Buick. Exceptional by design.
Hate choosing between vibrant jungles, the sweltering desert, and beautiful beaches? Then come to Tyrol, a beautiful, magical, mostly safe world of fantasy.
I think no matter what, without calling out players' names, I will always prefer a 5 solid roster, because I think it's going back to the stuff that Bren was saying, that might be why some of the macro and stuff lacks, because you gotta catch other people up on other maps. So not if we're mentioning names. I just think that a 5 core roster is just always better. I just don't like the 6-person roster.
Yep.
I abandoned something cool though. I got a clip of this. I knew this was possible, but I never thought about it, and it's the first time I saw anybody capture it in like pro play in VCT, which is the just the Yoru using the Yoru clone.
Oh, the Yoru clone to get past the trapwire. This was so smart.
This was awesome. I actually love this. I mean, this is
you can do it
an
with Fade
example
theoretically
of, like,
too, can't you, with the Prowler?
Yeah. It's just anything that can trigger the thing. But the reason it was so cool with the Yoru is because it implies like a lot of teams when they're running the Yoru on attack side breeze will just send the clone into halls as a default, and they won't actually follow up with any of it. And so he sends the clone up, but instead of breaking the trip off the back of it, he just uses it to take a timing past it. So nobody is alerted to the fact that it's got past this at all. They don't hear any gate crash. They don't hear anything. They are clueless. And you can see that like the small amount of time it takes for them to calm that there's somebody behind. Ban just just gets 2, just rips away 2 of them. This is the moments of individuality that are just, that's cool to watch. That's the stuff that carves out a path for Talon to actually be like a top team in Pacific right now. But I just think that it's gonna be rough for them when they go up against a team that's actually gonna hold a candle to them in that regard.
Yeah, I feel like one of my biggest walkaways from this team is always just like anytime I watch one of their games is just like being impressed with Ban. I feel like he was a solid player when he was in NA, but it really feels like he's just stepped up on this roster. Obviously, mostly playing the Sentinel, but you get like the odd Yoru game in there and stuff. And I feel like he's just so consistently performing, has great game sense to go for weird timings like that. So there's definitely, I think, an X factor with this Talon roster to be able to pull off upsets sometimes with the level of skill they have. But I want to ask the question, do we have any cope for either of these teams to go on a bit of a run, or is this just like some nice moments in the regular season, but likely a quick exit in playoffs?
I think, because this was a good example of, again, because this was the bonus round, right, that he did that. I think if they can consistently have a good pistol and a good idea on the bonus, some kind of little micro play like we just saw that Bren highlighted, if they can consistently do that on all the maps, you can win a best of 3. So there is a bit of cope. I think that if they manage to get majority of the pistols and they have cool stuff with the bonus and they can kind of snowball, which we're seeing a lot of teams do, I think they have a good chance. And I think it feels like they realize that with the amount of emphasis they're putting on these rounds. So I think there's a little bit of hope. But if we just go for like pure macro and it was like an even 3-3 pistol, I feel like they're going to get a little bit wrecked.
I have a little bit of hope for Team Secret as well, even though they lost this, because I feel like the Paper game from the previous week, which I don't know if we really touched on it that much, but I rewatched it recently, and it was the one thing I was surprised at was just that they had a really good awareness of how to punish Paper X's playstyle. When something would go to like re-clear mid on Icebox, he would break some util on the attack side of Icebox. He'd just back away. Immediately, the space is being re-cleared again by Team Secret. They had great ideas. They wanted to flank often. They had really, really great understanding of how to just break apart Paper X's playstyle. And I think they're just they're like a very standard team, just in terms of they have good ideas of what they want to do on their just overall macro defense sides as well. And the issue just comes down to when they get punched, they just can't hit back sometimes. But they did in the Paper X game, which is the weird thing. Like, they actually have shown that they've got that firepower. So I don't know. I've got more hope for Team Secret on that side of the bracket than I do for the T1 in their opening match, right? Because I think that's their opponents.
I massively agree with this. They look. I never know which version of this team I'm going to get, because like the top Team Secret is like they'll take down some of the big teams, but then you see these other games, you're just looking, you're like, oh, this does not look great. They have they have like a low floor and a high ceiling, and I never know which one I'm going to get. It kind of reminds me of like the old Liquid of like Safe, and kind of reminds me a little bit of that. And it's like, well, which version are we going to get today? So yeah, I think if they play at their peak, they can potentially make it.
They could get through there, no doubt. I mean, they have the easier side of the bracket for sure. I mean, I think T1 is kind of a mess right now and really hasn't been able to find the form that everybody was expecting them to at the beginning of the year. I think, I agree with everybody what they're talking about. They make good reads oftentimes. It's just a matter of being able to convert on the back of it. I think the bad news for Talon is that Paper X pretty quickly identified some of the issues that they had against Team Secret. At least when I watched them against Bleed, I felt like Paper X really addressed things like covering their flanks better and doing stuff like that. But I think Team Secret is a very well-balanced team. I think Envy is still an incredible player no matter what. He's always there. He's like got the most assists per round. He's fragging very well as usual. I think Jeremy and NDG are kind of my bigger concerns. NDG looked great against Paper X, but then didn't look so good. So it's kind of, they always play to their level of their opponents, and it's something they talk about too in their interviews and stuff, where they're like, we don't always consistently perform. They know it. It's just, can they do it? I think so. I think they're going up against two Korean teams who aren't playing at their best right now, so there's definitely a world where they get through.
So a little bit of cope for both these teams. We'll get into that more when we do the rest of our pick'ems, but let's move on to some of the other matches from Pacific and talk a little bit about T1, because it seems like there has been a bit of a stumble. The start of the season, T1 stocks, I feel like, were very high, and then they started losing some big matches mid-season. Now they've closed out the end by beating Zeta. How are we feeling about this team going into playoffs? Is it doom and gloom, or is some of that cope from the beginning of the season still alive?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
You mind putting your mask back on?
Super hard to eat while I'm wearing it.
It's super hard to eat when you're not.
This is what I'm talking about. Big slow motion action sequence. Who knows if you live or die? Plus us, a team, shake on it. Ah, you nicked it. Just got the tip with your little steak knife.
Rated R.
I think this team has a tendency to overcook, personally. Sometimes with their ideas. At least that's the vibe I get from them, like on Bind. I feel like if they just ran a more standard comp rather than trying to like force this harbor, I don't know what it is. It's Excurate feeling like the big brother syndrome. I don't know, just like feeling like he's being usurped by his younger brother, Forsaken, who's just playing absolutely everything or what. But it seems like in Pacific, this comp is like pretty popular, just trying to run the harbor. But you could run a Brimstone and have just as effective, if not more effective, control over the map and the way that they play it. Because I don't think they're creative enough with the Harbor. When Forsaken plays it, I notice like a massive difference because he's always like his coves will be on point to try and like cut up angles of which that his team can peek from, or the high tides are all good. And Extra is not awful at those aspects, but I think it just with so much power and creativity that's at your fingertips when you're playing Harbor, you have a tendency to just lean into just overcooking ideas. Like the instances that I'm thinking of the most is when they play Bind and they just fight for the backside plant rather than just going for like a standard showers front side take and just like making sure that they divide up the map. Instead, they plan for backside and then they just like hold from lamps, and they don't have showers control or backside control because they have to concede backside because they can get peeked from heaven, and so they just end up holding a post plan from like one possible position, and they always end up losing it when they go for like that plan, unless the enemy team ends up fumbling a little bit. But yeah, I just think that some of their ideas are just far too. Sometimes you got to innovate, but when you innovate too much, it becomes problematic.
Well, it's a comp they've been running for a while, right? And it looks way different than when it started, and not in good ways. I feel like when they started, I loved this comp because the way I described it is they're sort of like cutting the map into like pizza slices, and they're like using the Gecko utility to like stagger their way through those pizza slices. And so they would be able to kind of leapfrog their way into sites, take control of the front of the sites, not go all the way to the back like you're talking about, right? Like, and they get control, they get into normal good default post plants and just kind of bully teams on their attacker side on this map. And instead now they're doing a lot of really weird stuff. Like Xcurit has clearly been trying to imitate his brother, like with the way he plays showers control with the cascades, trying to cut off like one or two players and then trying to isolate fights that way. And he's just not as good at it. His brother's way better at it. If I'm just being honest, like that's just the truth of it. I mean, it's just true. And so like,
yes, he's trying to be exactly like his brother, but he's just so much worse.
Well, he's trying to steal some ideas from his brother. He doesn't play Harbor anything like his brother does, but he tried to a little bit, and it didn't go great. But yeah, it feels like, I agree with Bren that they're trying to innovate with this comp, but it's just not working. I mean, what they did originally with this comp was beating teams left and right, and then now they're trying to see, if they feel like probably they're getting anti-stratted and they need to do different stuff, and it's just not as good.
Yeah, I think they just don't look as comfy. I feel like Zed's had a good read as well in terms of like this comp. And like when people are playing this double initiator comp, I do feel like sometimes they're like very, very readable, and it felt very similar when I looked at Bind. It was like map control into burst, and they wouldn't really create too much pressure elsewhere. And you just saw Zeta be like super proactive on the defense. So it felt like Zeta had a pretty good read for this one. I still love their Lotus. Like I still think their Lotus is good, but I do think it comes down to like map pool doesn't fill me with too much confidence when it's this team. And I think the switch up from Carpe calling to Xcurit is like, I think it looks better like overall instead of like the mid rounding and stuff, but dude, Carpe needs to be fragging out heavier than this if he's not calling. Like it looked like he was fragging heavier when he was calling it. So normally it should go the opposite way around. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like you don't have to do the IGL duties anymore. You need to see a significant kind of increase that's at least noticeable, and I would say it's the same if not worse than it was. So that's like my main worry at the moment. It's just like where's that element of firepower gone? But yeah, still kind of confident in some of their maps. But yeah, other maps I don't enjoy their Bind. I think it's too readable.
For sure.
What's the win condition? What's the cope if this team is going to go on somewhat of a run in playoffs? Is there one?
They just get hot. That's I can't think of anything else.
It's a form thing, I think, because I don't really take issue with some of their macro ideas. I think they have a tendency to overcook sometimes, but the biggest problem for me was, and it was again highlighted from the match that they played versus Talon, was that they were just letting some of the Talon players get away with murder, and they just weren't hitting back, which is the exact same problem that Team Secret had. This is why I feel like those two teams, like T1 and Team Secret, are going to be quite closely matched almost.
Sure.
Just in terms of, I don't know, when I categorize teams in my head and think about what the strengths of them are, it might be firepower, like the way they play off each other in terms of like the gunplay, and like macro calling, and then maybe just like overall ideas, like how well they can execute certain ideas. And they do a lot of that well, but then they were just losing to individuals doing crazy shit sometimes. And yeah, I put them and Team Secret kind of in the same boat with that. So I think it's form. If they come alive with the form factor, which we know they can because they played. Listen, they've played. Yeah, they played Paper X close as well. When Paper X come at you with high tempo gameplay, that's very difficult to meet them at that kind of pace and not make mistakes and slip up. But they were one of the better teams to do it even in kickoff. So they've definitely got it in them. They just
And I think my biggest concern with T1 is that they got gifted rounds against Zeta. Like, this is one of them that we're seeing right here, where like Zeta's just not reading situations correctly. Like, Sugar Zero has 2 TPs and he just dies in a corner to mollies, and then they get the showstopper and everybody's just like playing in perfect showstopper range, like they're not giving him space, and they just lose the round because of it. It's just like Zeta was just like not mentally engaged. They haven't been really this season at all at times, and that's like gifting T1's round. And that's what's really concerning me here with T1 is that some of these rounds they have absolutely zero business winning. Like this round right here, I'm pretty sure is the one where Izu gets a 1v3, and it just should have never happened. Like Zeta just completely just gave him these 1v1s for free and they took it over. But in general, like I'm very, very concerned about T1, and Izu as well is starting to concern me a little bit. Like everybody I talk to in Pacific is so high on Izu as a fragger. They're like, this guy is nuts. Yeah. His skill is through the roof. And I've heard this from like a lot of people whose opinions I really trust. And I at times do see it, but it hasn't been consistent. And I don't know if that's a team thing, if he's just not fitting in well or what, because it is starting to get a bit concerning here overall.
Yeah. I think you touched on great stuff because, dude, this is the same game where there was like a 1v3 on A, right? And Wingman just diffused out and they didn't get the spam on him. Like Zeta should have won this game.
Oh, that round.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I forgot about that round. Oh.
Dude, it was this whole game was just like littered of just rounds that Zeta should have won. It's like one of the worst VOD review maps they'll probably ever have to do, hopefully. But I agree with that. I think individual form, it's just like, where is it? It used to be like Rossi winning loads of clutches, which he still does to an extent, just maybe not as many. I think Izu is the big one because when I'm watching Izu, like, is it Breeze that he played? Is it Breeze that he played the Yoru? Where I'm just like, damn, he looks incredible. And it is like you're saying, he has these games where he just wins outright. He's just an absolute beat. I mean, look at this round. Like this round is sick.
Just should never happen.
Yeah, so I mean, Zeta the whole game was just full of just rounds like this, where it's like, how have we lost that? But yeah, I feel like the Izu consistency is a very good point. It's true. He at the start of kickoff was like, I'm watching him thinking, holy, where's this guy been? Like he's a beast, and then he just has these games where he's like relatively quiet. So yeah, if they wanna win and they're in the better side of the bracket, so they can do it. It's got to be individuals stepping up to the peaks that we've seen them.
Okay. Well, let's move a little bit forward, and we were already talking about it a little bit, but the first match of Pacific Playoffs, the knockout round, this is, remember, the early on single elimination. It's single elimination, right? It's the same thing as kickoff?
For the first two matches. Yeah,
so some big games here. We were just talking about T1. They're starting off by playing Team Secret. Let's see the Preds. Wait.
There's going to be a
waiting.
Yes,
okay. Not a guarantee. Thankful.
Yeah,
you did, Brent.
Is it a guarantee?
Nah,
in my head, I was thinking I would have Team Secret as.
Nah, I don't think so, Brent. I think you went for this.
A lot of mistakes.
I also
you definitely
did this. But I also did this at like 2 a.m., so I could have just.
Kurt, you don't make mistakes. This is all Brent.
This. You don't want this to be a guarantee?
No, dude, I'm going out avoiding guarantees today. We're getting no guarantees today.
This one is very coin flippy, honestly. Like,
there we go.
Think in my head I would have gone Team Secret, but I'll bite the bullet and go T1 if you want me to. I feel like
that's so fake though. If you meant to say Team Secret, be a man of your word, Bran. No one means what they say anymore.
But we're just saying,
you're
remember
right.
them at, whoa, Brent, hold up. remember them at their peak, man. Izu on Yoru, just killing everyone. Yeah, just think about it.
No male manipulators on this podcast. Let Brent be his own man.
This is a coin flip. That's
game. That's what I'm saying. So you might as well get the free win here.
You predated Team T1. I'm looking at it right
now. I'm pretty sure I messed up.
Trust past you. That guy was smart. That guy knew what he was doing.
Past me was not smart. Past me was rolling around in bed off of an edible, just unable to sleep. When I was making these breads, man, I wasn't making sense. There was nothing tangible in my mind.
I think we can make the agreement though that if you stick to T1 and T1 win, you're not allowed to post a screenshot talking about how smart you are because you literally were not in control
I'm
of your
going
body.
to do that
You-
because
you
I'm
could
taking.
not-
I'm
you
biting a
couldn't,
bullet.
if you couldn't operate heavy machinery while you made the prediction, it's not a valid prediction.
I will
Dude,
be doing
if
that.
you
I
can't
will be.
get in the fucking tractor and drive it, you can't post it on Twitter.
I will be clout farming if they win this. I will be clout farming, even if I didn't intend for it, because it is a coin flip. I feel like this is a 50-50. Both of these teams are very evenly matched. And it's not just that. I feel like both of these teams are, unfortunately, they're in the wrong map pool and metagame for where their strengths lie right now. You're seeing, this is the rise of teams that have very good fundamentals in terms of how they play off of each other with shooting, and also just clear-cut game plans, good ideas of how they want to attack on certain maps. I think that suits like Breeze, Icebox as the map pool. Ascent, we really haven't seen much of really at all as well, but you can make an argument it kind of fits there. And then when you get into Lotus and Sunset and Split as well, I think you actually have to have good ideas in terms of your like macro and execution. And yeah, it's just maps that teams can ban. I feel like just the map pool is going to be trending way more to teams that if you can shoot back and you have those players that can step up in big moments, you're going to be able to get wins as long as you have a few things going right for you. It doesn't feel like a good meta for them. Anyway, I still think it's 50-50. I'm getting off the.
It'll go to 3 maps for sure. I mean, it's probably going to be Breeze, Lotus for the first 2 maps, and then I don't know what the third is. They're both not great on their third maps, like, so it's going to be really close. I don't know who I think Team Secret probably just has a little bit better macro game. I think Jesse's still a pretty good IGL usually. I mean, it could be that they're just not in good form and they just lose, but I think T1 is in a not good state right now, and I don't know that they can recover in a week.
Cool. I mean, I feel like it's 50-50. We've talked a lot about these teams already. Let's move on to a match we haven't talked much about. The other single elimination game to start the playoffs is Paper X versus Talon.
Oh, it was gonna be there eventually.
This won't come back to haunt us, I think.
Yeah.
For audio listeners, it's a full sweep for Paper X. Plat chat guarantee. Okay, hear me out. I'm not worried about this game.
You're not worried?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this.
Oh, that's
some level of worry.
Playoffs,
I've heard that
Paper
before.
X.
Yeah.
You don't know what Paper X is going to show up usually. Like they could.
But is Talon in the form? Even if Paper X show up looking like Dookie, they're at least going to have one player who's owning. And I don't know, even with that, if Talon is up to snuff to beat them.
I think they've got some hitters. I think Talon have got some hitters, and I think they can shoot back.
What's the cope for Talon?
What's the cope? Governor gets 2 pieces without being traded. Insane hero play moments from a player not being cleared when he gets really scrappy in some crazy moment in a round, and then they just absolutely clutch it up because, again, just sometimes, I'm just saying it, sometimes Paper X come into matches and they are out of sync. It happens once in a blue moon, but it does happen to Paper X. And when that happens, it's their biggest win con just peters out of existence. Do you know what I mean? It just goes. So I don't think it's a guarantee. I don't think this is like I wouldn't feel strongly about this. From how I've been watching Talon play, where they're coming into maps with good ideas on the pistol round, good ideas to convert bonus after they win the pistol, and on fact that they can actually hit back against heavy hitter teams as well. I think that they absolutely have the firepower to put down a team like Paper X. Just comes down to how well drilled Paper X is going to be on a given day.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm kind of confident within Paper X. I feel like when it matters, they pretty much step up to a high level. Single elim's a little bit scary, and I agree there is a little bit of hope for Talon in terms of what Brown was saying. But yeah, out of all the plat chat guarantees today, I reckon this is the most confident. But I also said this for the Loud Sentinels and Loud ones.
Yeah.
So
I've heard that one before.
You got to double down on one of them, and this is my one.
Oh.
I mean, I think what's really scary about Paper X right now, real quick, is that Devi and Mindfreak are playing out of their minds, and all it takes is like something or Jing to step it up a little bit, and it's just actually over.
Yeah.
Like they're such a difficult team to beat when at least one of their two, usually duelists is playing well. They're insane. But they've been having some troubles on those front lines, frankly. Sure. Like something hasn't been playing as good. I mean, he's still good, but he's not as good. Jing's kind of been playing a lot of Sage. Teams are trying to force out those maps onto Paper X where Jing isn't playing the Raze. I think wisely so. But then like Divine and Mind Freak have been insane on the back lines. Like they are just destroying people on lurks, doing a great job in post plants. So they're coordinating well with the people in front of them. It's a very scary Paper X team right now. I think they learned very quickly from what went wrong against Team Secret.
I can't believe they play Sage on it. I mean, it's Paper X. I can believe it.
They used
but...
to do that. That was one of the older comps on Icebox.
I was talking about Ascent. I don't mind it on Icebox.
Dude,
they played it on Ascent, yeah.
Dude, I'm loving the Sage. I mean, the Sage is good at the moment.
Sage is the new
Dude,
meta.
everyone's yeah, it kind of is because everyone's going towards double initiator and it's all about popping. If you take a little bit of map control and you just throw a slow behind when they're trying to send the Dizzy through, they don't get Dizzy and Wingman back. I'm telling you, Sage is like a good counter to the current meta.
And you're talking about Icebox though.
Talk about all the maps, pretty much. I'm talking about Icebox, talk about Sunset, like all the maps.
What about Ascent? What about Ascent?
It just suits them. It just suits them more into the Ascent. Ascent's a little bit different because it's harder to like mid round when there's a Sage. It kind of exploits the IGL if the IGL isn't good at like mid round because you actually got to go break the wall or you've actually got to have a bit of presence elsewhere.
Or count down from 40.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, this will be gone. In
but it's
40
specific,
seconds.
So that's
that's hard to do though. I completely agree with that.
I joke, but you are right. It makes you change the pace of the game quite a bit.
Again. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
It's so good on Sunset.
They stopped. But which is crazy to say because Jing's playing Raze on the map, and it's like me. It's like saying, "Oh, take Jing off Raze to play the Sage." But I completely agree with you, Sliggy, as well. It disrupts the really meta comps right now on Sunset. It rolls teams that are just playing like heavy retake protocols with the double initiators.
Remind me,
which team was playing? Fuck a bit heavy when they were playing.
Which team was playing
Icebox
really good, with like KO Gecko?
They'll figure it out. I'm sure. I'm sure this won't be a backfired guarantee. What's going on?
We both just had a full conversation over each other, and I don't think either of us realized what was going. Can you hear me?
A message from the Sonic Department of Research and Deliciousment.
They say you can't put a price on fun, but they don't know what the heck they're talking about. Fun's now $1.99 at Sonic with creamy queso wraps and more. Take that, they. The Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99.
Why can't I hear Mimi?
Oh, really?
I hear Mimi.
I hear you both.
Guys?
Yeah, I hear you guys.
Fellas?
Yeah,
I can't hear Mimi.
I hear it just
He
fine.
muted me! Unmute me. Free me, Bren.
Did you mute her?
Is it just on my end?
Can you hear? Can you hear me, Bren?
Yeah, I can hear everybody.
I think
apart
you
from
may have
Mimi.
locally muted Mimi somehow.
How the hell? What?
Wait, you can do that?
I don't.
Yeah.
Let me get on this.
In the bottom right-hand corner, there are buttons to mute people. Yeah,
Oh, that's sick.
yeah.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
dude, I can turn your
rejoin
volume
Bren,
down,
I'll
Bren.
probably fix it.
I mean, Mimi doesn't even show up in the list to me.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh,
Yeah.
rejoin them, bro.
I'm gonna
Yeah, that's a real
rejoin.
problem. Yeah.
That was so funny.
You're both just talking.
Dude, I thought he was done with his point, and I just kept
there we go.
talking. you just kept going at it.
I did.
Hi,
I
Bren.
kept going. Hello, I'm back.
Nice.
Now
I'm
he's
gonna-
muted. Oh,
no,
it's a
I'm
tragedy.
muted now. I can hear
No,
Mimi.
I can hear him.
Oh,
Wait,
you need to rejoin as well.
No, this is a bit.
It's
You
not a
both of you
bit.
rejoin.
I
Wait,
am not
he shows
trolling
muted
it.
on my end.
It's not a bit.
Just rejoin Mimi.
Did we block each other?
No, I mean, I don't think so. Oh, she's gone. No, she's gone.
Hello?
Yeah,
I
hello,
hear
can you
Brett
hear me?
again.
There we go.
Are we good?
You can hear me?
Wait,
Yeah?
I can't hear
Can you
Bren
hear
now.
me? No,
Yeah.
you're
No
joking.
fucking way.
No,
You're fucking
no.
Oh my god, okay.
Technical difficulties. Okay. We're done with predictions. Let's move on
No,
to
we're not.
Pacific. We're not? Yes, we
Well,
are.
I mean, we're kind of done with predictions, but we're doing the pick-off.
Well, yeah,
Pick'em,
but that's
pick'em.
different. That's not a prediction. That's a pick'em.
Pick-off, the Pacific pick-off, playoff pick'ems. I'm freaking...
I think you should take another edible. You need to calm down.
Yeah, me too. I'll be right back.
We're gonna do our predictions, pick'ems, pickoffs. Okay. We already talked about the first 2 games. That's locked in. Team Secret, Peeper X winning. Let's talk about Genji Team Secret. Surely this is just lock Genji, move on.
Hello?
Oh god.
Bren, don't. I made that joke. already.
She's actually muted again for me.
I've already done that joke.
Oh
Come on.
my god.
Let's move
Hello?
on.
Hello?
No, she's back again. Dude, what is going on? What is going on?
I don't know. This has never happened
Right,
before.
we're talking.
Classic.
It doesn't matter. We're talking.
Everyone lock in.
No,
I'm
no.
locking in. I'm locking in.
Wait,
I'm
you
locking
guys
in.
can't hear each other? We want to do a podcast?
I can hear Bren. Bren, can you hear
no,
me?
it's fine. It's fine. It was just a moment. I can
Okay,
hear me.
Genji
Dude,
secret.
you're
Discuss.
trolling.
Go, continue.
Oh,
Please.
God.
That edible hit you hard, bro. It's lasting long, man.
Continue.
I think
trolling.
probably Genji, because they spread the map. They play so well in their individual battles. I think that's going to be tough for Team Secret to really kind of do what they need to do. Now, that being said, Genji's been really static, I think, in their positioning and how they're holding, and they're kind of getting outguessed on timings and things like that. So I could see Secret winning this, but I'm slightly leaning to Genji, and not heavily.
See, I'm on board with that, and then I would just say I'm a little bit more heavily on board with Genji. I think a little bit of a slump like in some of the weeks, but I don't know. I feel like when it matters, they're just gonna come in swinging with this. The individuals are just too good, man.
I think Genji are losing a bit of that magic though.
Okay.
I think
Feels like
when you see like when they were really in like that white hot form, it was like you just see moments where if it was Texture and Care on last live, I'd be like, oh, I'm believing in them. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna play off each other so well, they're gonna find openings, they're just gonna get those weaknesses and they're just gonna outskill people. But there's been less of that, I think, with time, and like you've been mentioning, like they've been worked out a little bit in terms of just how proactive they play on maps. I think teams are starting to hold quite slow defaults usually at the beginning of rounds, and it's disrupting a lot of what Genji were doing. That was really, the best part of them was just how active they were getting on the defensive side and taking those fights with just really well drilled but seen before set plays. Do you know what I mean? Like talking about like the Ascent proactivity you do with the standard comp that we've seen.
Yeah,
many,
just
many times
executing
before.
on simple
But they were
stuff
doing
like
it
incredibly well.
And I think that's a recipe for winning right now as well, just with how many teams are currently taking steps back as well with their own understanding of the game. So, but the magic, I don't know, it just hasn't been there as much in terms of that form and them hitting the shots and playing off each other. It's been missing ever so slightly, and it's not as good as it was in the kickoff quals, which, I thought it was going to end way, way, way before. They made it all the way to the finals of Madrid playing in that type of form, so they could just get it back just like that. I think it's shown to be a consistency for them, but I'm just concerned because I think if Team Secret end up winning versus T1, chances are they've probably come into their own form, and at least they're playing quite well to the point where I would say that they would stand a decent shot of beating Genji. Genji should still be the favorites, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, they should probably win. Dude, I'm dialed in. Let's move on. We're locking Genji. We only have 2.5 more hours of this podcast. DRX, Peeperex. Let's talk about DRX a little bit, because we didn't get a chance to earlier. They had a pretty solid group stage for the most part, right? As in, they won every match, which I would say is solid. Though, they were in the group where they're playing Bleed and Global and all those guys. How high are we rating them off the group stage run? Are they back to, like, world beaters in Pacific?
I think they're pretty high. A lot of the stuff I'm seeing is very impressive. Dude, they're using like some normal comps and then coming in with new strats that no teams have ever done on the normal comps. Like their AXX is on Ascent is like really impressive. And my only like real worry was Bane maybe not being like a heavy fragger as I thought he would be. But then he had this week and he was just fragging out so heavy. So it's like my only concern in the actual team kind of just got cancelled out from this week. So yeah, I think they're very legit. I think they're in really hot form right now. I think individually they're all looking crazy good. And I'm scared of this team, man. I think this is a strong team.
I was gonna say, bring these stats up. Look at this. Your two top fraggers are Bane and Mako. In terms of KD right now, they're doing better than Buzz. I mean, it's crazy. Mako is the GOAT. Mako is the GOAT controller.
He's incredible.
Period. End of story.
You watch
He's
this guy
insane.
play, he's single-handedly winning them rounds. He's getting two pieces when he's being pushed by like initiator util and a duelist dashing in his face, and he's still taking them out. I think he's every week I mention how good he is when he switched to this Viper role.
He's really good at Viper,
Yeah.
Do we think this team?
Dude, I'm
Brent?
It's me talking.
Brent?
Oh, no, not this again.
There's no freaking way. There's no way.
I fix it. I think I know how to fix it.
Okay.
Is it
That's
on
gonna
me?
work.
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question while Brian works on that. Is this team making top 3 in Shanghai?
Top 3?
DRX?
Yes.
It's close.
They can.
Because they're the only team right now of all the like top teams out there that like people expected to be good and are having a clean season thus far. They're primed to win Pacific, it looks like. I think it would be a massive shock if they didn't go. All the top teams that were at Masters Madrid haven't had much turnaround time and have like been struggling. They had time to just practice dial in themselves. It seems like they're primed to make a run.
Well, here's what's weird about that, right? Is that Bane came in at the last minute before stage 1 started. Like, he was not practicing with the team until like 4 or 5 days. Like, I think they told me that he had like 1 day to practice each map before they started the stage with the team. So like the fact that they're able to play like this, the fact that he's playing like this, I don't know if he's going to come down to earth, you know, in either the playoffs or at Shanghai if they get there. Like then you know, maybe that's where the concern lies with DRX, is that him and Foxy9 can't keep playing up to this high level. Foxy9's doing a great job on the edges of the map. He's doing a great job holding sites. He had an insane ace against Bleed on Bind the other day, holding the tube on B side on B. I think they're good. I mean, it seems like once again Termy's found that magic. It does feel like 2021, and like you guys have been talking about with the way that teams are playing, but also like with the way that DRX feels right now, it feels like it should be a strong team. But I'm worried they're going to come into Shanghai and that kind of newness of the roster is going to finally catch up to them.
Okay.
That's yeah, I agree with that. It like, might be the little inexperienced bit. It could be like the classic 4th again, to be honest with for them. I would say, because you mentioned Termy as well, I would say he's loving everything about him this year. He's doing good, man. He's like, the timeouts are great, the suit's off, the shirt's on. He's got the hoodie out on some of these as well, and the timeouts are on point and they're at the right time. And yeah, overall, everything looks good.
How does Alice feel about DRX this year, Brian?
Oh, we're so fucking back. We are so fucking back.
she was screaming for Termy's head last year.
Yeah, she was. Now I won't ask her for her opinions on Termy. She's in the bedroom right now. But yeah, I mean DRX are looking so damn good right now. I'm sure you've already mentioned the usual points, which is just the roll switch up working out for them. You can't hear me,
guys.
Yeah,
I mean he's talking.
He's talking. Yeah,
dude.
Oh, I hear him again.
Dude, I'm gonna lose my.
What are you two doing?
Dude, I have no idea what's going on.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
I think you're like lagging out.
I gotta look it. DRX. They're gonna win it all, man. They're gonna win it all. They're playing slow defaults. The macro's looking great. The roll switch is looking great. Mako's my fucking goat. I'm locked in.
Dude, I don't know if you can hear it on the podcast, but he's fucking auto-tuning for me while he's doing that rant. Just, Mako's, what is going on? He's muted again.
I'm not
Friend?
muted. I just haven't said anything. That's just
You
me
two-
not
I think it's on your end.
We're fine.
I've looked at this on my end completely. It is not on my end. It's one of
Yeah,
your
I'm
I'm gonna do the fucking Joker dance. I'm gonna go up on the staircase.
I'm getting moderate connection issues apparently, but my upload's fine. But
Okay.
I'm getting a little thingy. So I don't
Okay,
know.
this is fine. Lock DRX in winning Pacific.
Yeah. They're gonna win it all.
Well, I think
hold up.
I think
Well.
Paper X might come back. I think Paper X might come back and beat him in the finals. Is something I'm kind of.
But you think DRX beat them match 1?
Yeah.
See,
Okay.
I have it the other way around. I think Paper X win this, and then DRX win from the lower bracket. Because I think when it matters, Paper X are the ones, and then they kind of get confirmed, and then they're like, okay, well, we're kind of chill now. Who gives a hell about the champs points?
Yeah.
But they obviously don't after how they played against Genji last time. So I think that's where I view it. But I'm open for anything.
So the teams in the lower and upper finals auto make it, right? That's how that works. You just have to make lower
Yes.
final.
Yep.
Mid-game.
So top 3, yeah.
So DRX has to win
One
one
match.
game.
One
No
game.
matter what, one
Yep.
game.
One game.
That's crazy.
That's why first seed is so. That's in every
Yeah.
region.
First seed's the one.
First
Yeah,
seed
that's why
rules.
it's so important to get the first
Dude,
seed.
Crew is winning Shanghai.
Yeah. They might.
DRX
Yeah,
Crew
they
Grand
might.
Finals. It's going crazy.
actually
It's gonna be
might.
it's gonna be a weird tournament. It really is gonna be cool.
Okay, so what's our conclusion? Is DRX making
conclusion, they're
finals
winning
through
it all.
uppers
I
or
think-
lowers?
I would have them winning versus Paper X. I would have them winning versus Gen G. I think they would win it all.
Cool.
Sure, I can get on board with that because it's
Yeah,
it's the
I
same
can- I can go
outcome.
with
It's
that.
just a different way. Yeah, I'm in for it.
So then I feel like there's not much discussion. Paper X should 100% win that game against Team Secret, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're on back. Yeah, they will win.
Yeah, and then we have Gen G
Could be-
Paper X.
could be
I
close,
feel
though.
like this one could go. I feel like this one is very form based on how both these teams step up for playoffs.
I will say, if we actually get this, the Team Secret Paper X lower bracket winner takes all is going to be nuts because Team Secret seem to have the read of Paper X, and that could actually be huge if that happens. The lower round one,
Hype.
yeah, that could be a close game.
If Pacific are sending Gen G Paper X and DRX to a tournament in
They're winning.
Asia, is this
We're
the
winning.
best chance for
We're
Pacific
winning.
to win a trophy?
100%, no
Yeah.
doubt in my mind. I
It's
know they've got
gotta
to
be.
finals before, and we've always said like this is the best chance, but this is actually the best chance.
Guys,
and these-
for real
these
this
three
time, I
teams look sick.
promise.
Yeah, dude, it literally is that. Dude,
Having
Paper,
flashbacks.
Paper X are winning Shanghai.
He's
man.
not on the team anymore.
They're winning. They're
Who's
winning.
not?
They're winning Shanghai.
So bad.
Pacific is
Yeah.
winning Shanghai.
Dude,
I think it's
Paper
going to
X
be
got
one
it.
of the RXs
Flashback.
winning Shanghai. I think it's going to be one of the
Yeah.
RXs.
Yeah, that's a safer bet. I might switch over to that.
There's people in chat saying we're disregarding Paper X as well. I don't think we're disregarding them. I think it's just
No,
we know
I
they're
think they're
a good
going to win.
team.
I think they're going to win the comeback.
Disregard. I
against
just said they're
DRX.
going to win Shanghai.
Yeah, we do.
What do they want from me?
Yeah, I just think that DRX should match up pretty favorably against them. Just the way that DRX is playing right now, it's so standard and bare bones. But I don't hate that at all.
I mean, I feel like it's just like classic, like really good, simple ideas executed well, players hitting form. It's like it's
is the most-
pinnacle of Korean Valorant.
It's so cookie cutter in terms of just
Yeah.
like you said, slow play, and then slow play stops working. They'll take a timeout. They'll immediately increase the tempo because they've
But
conditioned
remember,
slow play.
Gen G damn near won Masters Madrid playing that style. DRX has had a flawless season playing that style. Look at Americas, looks inside, are the only flawless team. Playing not super dissimilar a style to that. Like, I feel like those teams that are just really fundamentally sound, play slower attack sides, and have crazy individuals that are winning out on clutches, and aren't overcooking their comps or their ideas at all, are feasting right now with how so many teams are stumbling around, not able to figure out what ideas they want to go for. I feel like those are the teams that are thriving in this muddy men era.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It is a legit just wait for them to make a mistake kind of thing. It really is. It's like it feels like it's never been truer in terms of the team that makes the least mistakes wins. Because it's this week especially was crazy muddy.
Yeah,
like it was
Yes.
like
Last
every other
2
game.
weeks have been
Yeah.
insane. Just
Yeah.
insane.
You look like you've seen some shit, Clint.
I'm so fucking tired right now. I have just been grinding Pacific almost every day, and it's just like I don't get home until past midnight most of the time, and I'm exhausted. I just get home and I lay in bed and I watch like bad TV from like the early 2000s, and then I just pass out. Like that's it. That's my life.
This is
I
why
go
I'm
to
saying
work and I come
Samsung
home.
should make you the CEO.
Yeah,
You have the grind set.
true. Yeah.
You'd be a good company man.
Oh yeah, that's me. True and true. Yeah.
You're a Riot Games company man right now. All right. Well, let's look at our final bracket. DRX winning the grand finals against Paper X. Is that our conclusion?
Yeah, because I think they'll want the points more. That's why.
Sure.
The DRX are playing like they got something
It definitely
to prove.
means more for DRX to win than it does for Paper X.
Yeah.
And also, I think what we were saying already I think someone already made this point, so I won't reiterate it more, but in terms of punishing mistakes, I think DRX will do a good job of that against current form Paper X. But that wraps up Pacific, folks. This is what's happening. There's not going to be any upsets. DRX, Paper X, Gen G going to Master Shanghai, and Pacific's lifting a trophy. Clint, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we
Thank you,
appreciate
Clint.
you.
Thank
Go
you, guys.
watch. Go watch Pacific playoffs, where I imagine you will be casting a bunch of those games, Clint.
Yep. I'll be there almost every day.
And follow him. And it's.
I'm
okay.
actually really excited, but I'm so tired today. I'm
Let's
just
let
like,
him go to bed. Let's let him go to bed. Follow
Go
him
to
on
bed.
Twitter,
Go to sleep.
Paperthin here. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us your insight as always. We're gonna move on to EMEA. Kakuka's gonna be joining us. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Break
Yippee!
time.
Yay!
Break time. Go
We'll be
get
back
your
in a little bit.
snacks. Go get bathroom
Thanks,
break. You
Clint.
know how
Thanks
it
again,
is.
Clint.
Thank you guys. No,
Enjoy
thank you
your
guys.
rest.
Bro.
Oh, I'm fucking falling right asleep.
I feel like every time.
I was gonna say hi to Kukuga quick, but I guess she's not in yet.
Every time we do an episode with me, Clint, and Sliggy, we haven't had any rest. Every single time without fail. We always
And I'm
open and we're just
also-
talking about how little sleep we've had. We're
Yeah.
fucking around the water cooler trying to like.
Dude, viewers, let me
Ah.
tell you, podcasting is the hardest job you could have. Watching Valorant and then doing a podcast, hardest job you could have.
Hardest job
Dude,
in America
Kurt,
right now.
Kurt, pull,
Oh
up,
my
pull up
God.
that video of those like greasy, oily men like gripping the spinning tube and putting it in. That's us. Our job is
No.
actually
Us.
much harder than that.
All
Oh
right,
my
Clint.
God.
See you later, man.
All right, I'm getting out of here. Take care,
Hey,
guys.
Clint.
I'm gonna
Goodbye.
turn Kakuka on so you
Bye,
guys can
Bia.
hear.
Oh, hello,
I miss
Bea.
you.
Hello, Kukuga.
We're
right.
living the dream.
Should be able to
Good.
hear her now.
You're gonna be the voice of reason for us.
Am I?
Yes.
Yeah. You're gonna
Man, I
have
don't
to
know.
be.
Slinky
I'll try
is
my
like
best.
is seeing Valorant in his sleep.
Hear me out.
Bren
I
hasn't
do not.
slept at all.
I don't even know how he's getting any sleep. Every single time I turn on my PC and I go on Twitch, Slee is live. I know that Valorant is going on if Slee is live, and he's live all the freaking time.
There's no breaks.
Not for him.
No, it's just no breaks.
It's like he's just not even. Is like even here right now? No,
He's
not.
probably gone to bed.
He's just peaced.
This is his time
He's
to get
left.
some sleep.
I wouldn't blame him.
I'm gonna use this.
I'm gonna use the
3-minute
restroom
period
real
to
quick.
chill.
Be right back. In 3 minutes, I'm gonna put on some wonderful copyright-free music. Oh my god, it's gonna be so loud. I'm sorry. All right,
Oh, whoa.
there we go.
That's all right.
Be right back. Oh my god, this is so quiet. All right, be right back.
Dude, this is my favorite song.
Brennan Ellis hot mic incident. That was the voices inside my head, chat. Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. It's all good.
All right, I'm back. Welcome everybody.
Hello, hello.
Yippee! Shall we podcast?
We shall podcast.
We shall, yeah.
Surely.
Down the pod. I was born the fucking pod.
Huh?
Start
What,
the shit.
what does he mean by that?
I was born the pod.
All right,
Some people
well,
are born for great things. Me, I was born to talk about conspiracy theories in Austin, Texas.
I
Is that
think
an
that
edible?
you could be. Do you
Is
know
that your
Joe
Roman
Rogan?
Empire?
No, not really. I'm just
Dude,
gonna
I
make
feel
shit
like you
up.
guys are tight though, right? You and Joe.
What?
You call him Joe, right? Not Rogan.
Mr. Rogan?
No, you call him
I
Joe.
have to refer to him as Mr. Rogan. I'm his blood boy. He pays me to take my blood plasma and just transfuse it to become
That is
younger.
the craziest thing to me that people actually do that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
my
it's
point.
a real thing. It's a real
Hi.
thing that the rich billionaires do. Anyway.
Me and Brent are going to continue to just be idiots and mute each other the entire podcast. We have someone who's hopefully sane and knowledgeable. Kakuka, hello.
Sometimes. Hey guys, how you doing?
She's very quiet.
Hello.
How's America's? We haven't
Oh
talked
my
officially
God.
since Madrid. I feel like.
No, we haven't. The men are covered in grease, Bea. the men, they're greasy in Americas.
They're greasy. They are greasy.
No match has gone the way it should. It's silliness across the board.
Yeah. I feel like in every region it's been a little bit of the same. Like Valorant is so inconsistent right now. It's given my mental health. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
Like you cannot like for surely say, oh my god, this team is actually so good because so many things are changing. I feel like.
Well, we're going to be doing that this episode.
Yeah, that's
And I
pretty
expect
much what we do here.
I
yeah.
expect you to have correct predictions. But we're gonna get into EMEA before all the little Timmies at home start complaining. If you want more about EMEA, go back and watch the last episode. We covered pretty much all of last week's episodes there. The only thing not covered was the last day there. So we're gonna talk about those last day matches and then get into predictions for playoffs. So it might be a little bit of shorter EMEA talk this time. But if you love Europe, go back and watch the last episode. Let's start though by breaking news. Riot demands chaos. They want the men to be muddier. They are nerfing Viper, and me when she's getting the Sky treatment, just slowly chipped away at patch after patch, like the budget of an important U.S. institution. Slowly, it is being increasingly decayed, and now they've changed. What have they changed?
This
One
needed to
Molly.
A bit of everything.
Yeah, look, they just tanked every part of a kit pretty much.
Yeah, it's basically less time on the smoke or the wall or combined, and then you got a smoke now, you can't pick that up, so it's like wherever you throw it, that's where it's committed to. You can't pick that one back up. And then Molly, in terms of your Viper Molly, Viper Spit, whatever you call it, there's only one of them. But it does last for a second longer, if that makes you feel any better, but it also costs more. So
I think this is a great change. I think this
it's
is
unbelievable.
Yeah, I think this
we
is a
should be
great
singing
change.
the praises.
Honestly, this post-plant meta that we're getting into on Sunset
Getting into?
post-plants in B, getting into. I mean, we've been in this for fucking ages.
Say.
Yeah, but it's been like it's been amplified by some maps that went out of the pool or changes were made to it. But now it's just like it's rearing its head again because Icebox is back and Breeze is
Maybe
back.
just
and
remove Icebox again.
I would love that. I would love that for
my
more than that. I mean,
question-
I've been saying it from the rooftops. I was in the Riot Games office talking to Riot employees saying we should tell them to change the map pool. I was the one advocating for it, and they were like, oh yes, smile and nod and don't say anything and hope that the crazy fucking contractor leaves us alone. He's asking about the map changes again. That was
My
me. I was
thought
pushing for those changes.
is that I don't know if this is going to be the solution we want it to be if the map pool stays the same. I think we are currently in the most Viper reliant map pool we've ever had. She has like an 80% pick rate right now across the international league, which is ridiculous. The most played agent in the pool. And I think she needs changes and needs to be phased out. But when is this my questions? When is this going to be instituted into pro play? Because if this is in effect for Shanghai, there is no time between playoffs in Shanghai. That is going to make that event so chaotic. But because the thing is, the schedule is so short this year that there is no good time to make changes like this. This is like, I think the biggest mid-season change we would have ever had to the game if this comes into effect. Because I think this really diminishes the power of Viper on a lot of the maps, and we're an incredibly Viper-dominated meta right now. If this happens midway through, I feel like the teams that end up going to Shanghai get kind of owned by a big change, and it's very comparable to like Sky disappearing at the beginning of this season. So I don't know. I like the changes for the state of the game, but I'm kind of worried at the future it presents depending on when they institute this into competitive.
I think that the entire year is being very unforgiving with many things, right? Like we had, as you mentioned, the Sky change. I think that the conversation is just too wide, right? Because every single team came with a different proposal of what they wanted to do. Like especially in EMEA is like where I personally have seen the most outrageous like kind of different perspectives onto things, and there's literally no time. And especially even for there are some teams like for example Giants and Koi that. How much are they going to put into all of this? Because the rest of the year is already mostly screwed for them, right? But the changes from Viper, I think that she's still going to be playable. I think that it's mostly on timings and understanding how to work around everything. And especially because of the situation that we had this year, I do not think that that pick rate is going to go down dramatically. I don't think so.
Kona Big Wave. Bring the aloha.
Yeah, I can see it being. I can still see it being like a really heavy pick, especially with the timing of it. So I can see it maybe going down to like a 60, maybe a 50. Some of the teams that like aren't going to Shanghai obviously have time to experiment, so we'll see that. I think like on the maps like Icebox, it doesn't really change too much. Your smoke pretty much goes down in the same place, especially over towards like B on defense, on attack, it's kind of the same thing. So it's very map dependent. But I'm still like, dude, I think it's sick. I think it's great. It's not great timing. That's like the only thing that I don't like, and it's the same thing as the Sky, right? Everything needs to be more organized. Like you finish champs, and then we do these big patch, and then everyone has the off season to work out what they're doing, and then everyone can actually cook up with some stuff, and then we don't have to talk about how Valorant's just muddy because all these teams are like scrambling around. We've got 3 weeks for 7 maps, and it'll be even worse for Shanghai. So the people go to Shanghai, you have 10 days for 7 maps if you don't want to play Viper. So yeah,
Do we know if it's going to be that patch?
I mean, it should be, right? So it's kind of up to them in terms of what they call, right? Because it's like new agents is meant to be 2 weeks, right? And then new maps is like a month for when it's implemented. But when it's like new patches like this, I think it's up to them of what they want to decide. So I imagine playoffs is the same in Shanghai. Maybe this is implemented after this might be implemented, but we'll see. It's crap timing.
I feel like people will probably still pick her. It's just the duration changes is tough. It means your execute window on maps is low when already there was like that shadow nerf that made it lower, and this is now going even lower than that. So your execute window is really slow. I think things that I'm looking at as just a net positive of this, one snakebite change. I really like that. I think limiting stall is huge.
Right?
Yes. But in my opinion, I think that I don't mind Viper as a consistent force in terms of like executes and like having her smoke is like consistent conditioning, especially with the map pool we have. I think the real issue with the agent was how extreme the stall time was, and I think the snakebite changes fix that. I'm a little concerned about the smoke timing changes and how that's going to affect teams having to change comps and things in a short period.
Yeah. I mean,
it affects no, go Connor.
Okay, I was gonna say they addressed all the right issues. I agree. They fully like the afterplan stuff of like if you want your smoke there, you now can't pick up your smoke and put it there. So the afterplan stuff's good. So viewer wise, that's incredible. There's nothing worse than it's like wait, why we're watching a duel and like why are they not diffusing? Then you have to have like a little picture by picture, and it's like the smoke's up and there's mollies going out. Like,
I love those changes.
Yeah, so those changes are good, and then now it kind of means like the agent's still viable on a lot of maps, and I think that's good as well. It just means that it's more playable to play against, right? You want to now get that molly out of them on defense, right? You can kind of just do a bit of pressure, find out where the Viper is. Let's see if you could do like one kind of set play to actually try and get the molly out, and that's a big win. And now you know that site's weaker. So yeah, in terms of like playability, like it's everything about this is sick. Apart from the timing, that's it.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be good. We also need to think about how it affects the defense and how it probably changes the nuances of the sentinel part of the Viper, you know, as a strongholder, and as Leaky, you were mentioning, like not picking up the orb in maps like, for example, Icebox, Lotus. I think that we see it a lot, especially on to see when you're able to retrieve that orb and then use it for the retake and all of that. None of that is going to be in place. I do like the changes, though. I agree the timing is not perfect, but as I said, the year. I understand that it's been rough on teams, especially with all of the changes that we've had to stay on top of everything, like how the meta is changing, how everyone is doing in the season across regions as well, and then you have to seek all of these changes.
Yeah, I think this is also a great change because of the general trend that I've seen, which is teams that can't attack well. And the reason they can is because they don't pull out a lot of demollies, because there's just always been an abundance with these comps that have been played. Like the amount of times, how many times have we seen a team like try and late hit into a site with 30 seconds left and they haven't pulled out both the snake bites?
I think
and
of Lotus especially, where teams like try and late hit
Lotus
C
through,
and
like the
insta
rotating
lose.
door on either A or C, and they haven't pulled out the snake bites, and then they just get stalled out massively. Because as much as those maps, like Lotus is an attack side of the map, right? Because it's so easy to snowball your advantages with the easy orb access. It also does make for some very I'm thinking mainly a bind, where bind is a map where it's pretty straightforward in terms of the macro, but you can just get stalled out if you don't play the map well enough on the attack side. And so I think it will open it up to make it hopefully more even now, because it was just it was so accessible. I mean, $200 for like a molly that vulnerables you and does the damage, along with the threat of decay,
especially
was
with
insane.
the Odin and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane when it all adds up and how good teams have actually gotten around using the UTOR. So
yeah,
I'm excited for these changes. I think Shanghai is probably going to get treated as a tournament as well. If these changes are in for Shanghai, a lot of teams should be going into it as just like it's a boot camp sesh. Do you know what I mean? Like the only thing there is to play for is going to be the championship points at the end. Arguably, I like that we put a lot
Literally
of prestige
at the
on
end, because you will only get them if you win.
You only get it if you win.
I mean, while you're bringing up this topic, I wanted to bring up this tweet from Zeiss, the one that coaches on Karmine Core, about this exact issue, where he's talking about the turnaround time from these Masters tournaments being so slow that it disincentivizes players and teams from wanting to do this. We can paraphrase a little bit here, but we'll read the second paragraph. Look how most of the teams that went to Masters Madrid are struggling, because no one had time to reset/prepare and work on new stuff for stage 1, when teams that didn't qualify had 1 month to work and catch up to these teams. And it'll be the same situation for teams who qualify to Shanghai. We can skip ahead then a little bit and talk about the fact that, I mean, just the next paragraph, he's saying that on top of that, when you add nerfs or changes to the actual meta on a lot of maps, the actual teams that will qualify to Shanghai won't have much time to work towards stage 2 with those major changes coming in. The thesis of it all is that looking at these changes coming in last minute and continuing throughout the season, at the beginning of the season, the Sky nerfs coming in with not a lot of time to prep ahead of kickoff, then going into Masters Madrid, and now currently with these Viper changes, it means that our teams that are going to Masters are struggling when they get back to the international leagues. And I think the question of that is, does that disincentivize teams from wanting to go to these tournaments and play out all the way? I think it's an interesting question that the how shrunk this format has brought on.
I think that it wouldn't be like that if we hadn't had the Sky nerf at the beginning, right? If there hadn't been 2 major changes, maybe they wouldn't have this perspective. It's also based on the result on how the rest of the year is going so far and how teams are really struggling, because it's very difficult. Last year, for example, we saw it with Fnatic. After the entirety of the season, they didn't manage to win EMEA. Just because of the burnout. Like it's very taxing to play only 1 game a week, but doing it for such a long time that at some point you're going to be very, very tired. And if you add on top that if your team is doing super good, like you're smashing the rest of the region, you do want to go to this kind of tournaments. You want to like, you know, you want the trophy on your back. You feel like you deserve it. You feel like you're working towards the right destination. But right now, I don't see many teams, especially I don't see a team in EMEA who would die to win Shanghai. If that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that's fair as well, because it's weird in this game, because obviously like a lot of people compare it to CS, but it's just not the same as CS, because like the meta doesn't change, and it's like so much, the anti-strat is so much deeper, like the anti-strat is so much deeper that you can show like 2 games on a map and then someone could literally just completely wreck that, whereas in CS it doesn't matter how many you play, because I've seen a lot of people doing that kind of talk at the moment. In terms of this, it's how you put it, like, because obviously the Masters trophy does mean a lot, and it's like it's pretty much this perspective, like where do you view everything? Do you put Masters up there, or do you put champs so much higher? And definitely for sure Riot did a lot of emphasis this year to try and mean that champs mean more, but in return they have kind of nerfed the fact that Masters doesn't mean as much. Like Tokyo last time, you come 3, like you qualify to Tokyo, you get into champs, and then you have a week, like then you have a month after, so you can literally show all your stuff, and then you have that comfort of a whole month after where you can change all your stuff. So it's like, well, damn, we can go 100% here, and then we can chill, change all our stuff, and then go 100% again. Whereas now it's like, if we go to Shanghai and we go 100% here, we're a little bit wrecked in the mid ground. Like, do we then like essentially just accept that we aren't gonna either win champs if that is the goal, or like even qualify? So yeah, I don't know. It's up to you where you kind of view it. I personally, in a team, it would more just be like, obviously, if you went to Masters, you want to try win it. But I would just be like, at the moment, if I don't qualify, I would just be using it as cope to just be like, doesn't really mean as much anyway.
I think you can see that.
It's also very important that this year we have 2 stages. We don't have LCQ, right? And you remember, for example, last year, the teams that were in Tokyo, most of them, they don't have to go through the last chance qualifiers. So then they will have that break. But now, no matter what, you won't have it. It won't exist. So you either take everything or you do as Lee was saying.
And we've already seen that from teams, right? That didn't go to Masters Madrid. We saw kind of the fall off and the struggle for Loud to rebuild themselves, only really starting to hit their form at the end of the season. And on the flip side, we saw a DRX that looked rough in kickoff, take the time off and come back and look so much better in stage 1.
They got a little bit lucky with the way their roles worked out, because Flashback ended up because of stepping back and away from the roster because of personal reasons.
Sure.
So they did get quite fortunate. But I see your point. I think it's still valid. And I think it also goes back to the format discussions that we were just talking about non-stop.
Yes, the whole year. Yeah.
Non-stop, but and it is going to be better next year. That's the thing to keep in mind, because it's like you said, Kakuka, it's been ruined because of the sky changes at the beginning, which they just did beforehand, which ruined the prep for all these teams. And it's also compounded with the fact that there's no adequate breaks for teams that actually do attend these big events. I hate this aspect of it, because I don't want Masters to become a Mickey Mouse tournament. I want it to be something that we actually look forward to every year, and as a bit of a, the teams actually look forward to going to it and actually want to win it.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it's just it has fallen to the wayside a little bit this year with all the format changes, with the fact that we only saw 8 teams at the first one, and now 12 and then 16, because they are trying to build up to champs being the big crowning jewel of the year.
I think we have something very special in Valorant, with Masters meaning something, right?
Yeah.
With it being such an important tournament. You look at a lot of other esports. For instance, I'm going to use League as an example. They have 2 international events a year. They have Worlds and MSI. People don't talk about MSI winners at the same level whatsoever as Worlds. Worlds is the crowning achievement. It's the big thing. You look at Counter-Strike. Winning an ESL Pro League is cool, but people look at the majors as the big thing, as the major thing. In Valorant, the community almost holds Masters and Champions to the same level. People use the word world champions to talk about people who have won a Masters tournament.
Or just title winner, right?
Yes, title winner, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But I think fans almost hold it to the same level. And I think that's something that we have in this esport that is uniquely special.
Yeah.
We have 3 big international events a year, and every time people feel like they mean something. You look at the fans, you look at the players, you see the emotion. It shows that these are not just Mickey Mouse one-offs, but a tournament that really matters to the sport and matters to the teams. And my concern, my biggest worry, is that this format, with the quick turnarounds, with things like that, if there's agent changes going into these tournaments, it'll just continue to put little asterisks in front of these events.
Yeah.
That'll then, over time, degrade people's value of Masters tournaments.
Yeah,
There's been that at prior Masters events, though, when you've had visa issues and teams haven't been able to attend. So
But look at Masters Madrid. People are holding Sentinels to such a high level, even though there could be that stuff. I think it's something that it'll, over time, be degrade if this continues.
I don't think it will, though. I think this will get corrected next year, because we're going to have a more spread out schedule, which they've already said. And I hope as well that they've learned from their lesson of nerfing Viper and Sky. They've kind of said as well, they hinted at it in the Balance blog post, where they were saying they're going to slow down with a lot of these big heavy hitting. They're going to do some heavy hitting nerfs, and then they're going to slow down and see the effect on them. But I think that it's just, unfortunately, the growing pains of having Valorant as an esport, where they've just taken time to work out all of these things. Because last year, people were complaining about not seeing teams in between Tokyo and champs, because you could qualify for champs off of the back of Tokyo, and you just didn't witness some teams for the month plus, which is excellent for the teams because they get to prep for that event. But there was always complaints about there not being enough regular season games overall, and then we have 2 splits now this time around, which I don't think actually works out as more regular season games. I could be wrong. Is it? I mean, it is because there's one more team, but yeah,
Yeah.
they've split it out over
This
two
season
two
seems
stages.
better for the fans, worse for the teams. Well, last year's
yeah,
format
for
with the
sure.
big gap
Yeah.
was better for the teams and much
And
worse
so
for the fans.
2025 should be better for the teams because they're going to give them adequate breaks, and also the fans should still be winning as well because you still get to see your team play in between these big moments, in between the big tournaments.
My biggest question
in theory,
is how do Riot, how do we do a
How
better
does Riot?
job? How does Riot? Great question. How does how could the format do a better job of rewarding teams who win international tournaments? Because right now I feel like it can be somewhat punishing in the lack of turnaround time. Is there an argument to be made for giving international tournament winners buys or like easier runs in group stages, something like that?
Yeah, you got to do some kind of point system. You got to do something. Winning a Masters cannot be the same. And I mean, no disrespect to the teams because these three teams are losing a lot. Winning a Masters cannot be the same as beating Bleed, DFM, and GE in your region. It shouldn't be the same. And it doesn't even mean that much. It's actually 3 of the bonus points that you can maybe get for 4th. It doesn't even mean the actual 90% of winning, beating those teams that it actually does. So it needs to have some kind of emphasis on the rest of the year, not for 4th place, but in terms of like actually getting to the events. And I get the whole thing that you want like the teams at the end of the season to be like a good form, and winning a tournament early on shouldn't like make sure you get to champs, but these teams need to get compensated for the fact that they go into these events. They're showing all of their stuff, and then they're coming back and they're getting wrecked. They don't have that extra 5 weeks. They have to get compensated somehow for that. You can't give them free champ points. That means that you can maybe come 4th, but you probably won't come 4th because then you don't go to playoffs where you can get those champ points anyway.
This is a race. They fixated on the number 3. They just want you to get 3 points for things.
So
They
what?
Just
All that
3.
matters is
It
can the
doesn't
fucking
matter
horse
when
see.
during the year
That's
you
a
just
race.
get